You're watching EVH Gear TV, brought to you by Mike's Music. Visit Mike's Music online for all your EVH and other gear needs. Microphones for EVH Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by VanHalenStore.com. Now, here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH Gear artist Eric Broadbent.
Happy Wednesday to you all. Welcome to EVH Gear TV. We are live, and I'm joined this evening by Mitch Malloy. Mitch, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm looking forward to talking a lot of guitar and amplifiers and a little bit of that band. It slipped my mind right now, but the name will come to me in a little bit. We'll catch up with that. We're going to have some fun.
It's on your t-shirt. Just look down.
HV. Van Halen. There we go. All right, Van. That's it. Thank you for the reminder.
I'm not representing. I should be shamed.
That's why I wear the t-shirt, so I can always, if I don't know what I'm talking about, it's my cue card. So there you go. Thanks to Jeff Hausman at the Van Halen store for giving me these cue cards, for sure. Yeah. So we've got a great lineup for you this evening. We got some great guests coming over. Probably a lot of people that are following you coming over here. Some new fans as well too. It's always nice just to interact with both of our audiences here. Like I say, Guitars Studio, which I'm really looking forward to talking to you about, which you've got a beautiful studio behind you, and a little bit about that time with Van Halen as well too. So I want to get right into it. First of all, I want to thank you graciously for your time. You're a very busy man, so thank you for that. And I know like you have a million things on the go. So the Van Halen fans as well, thank you very much. Thanking you very much for the contributions that you're about to bring us this evening as well too. But let's just talk a little bit about what got you into music and maybe some of the influences you had. I know you're a multi-instrumentalist, but tell us a little bit about what got you into it and some of the influences that you had growing up.
Actually, it started in first grade when the teacher would go around. This is how our teacher did it anyway. It's amazing that I can still remember this. I don't remember much from my childhood, but I remember this. She went through and had every person sing the same thing, and I was hiding in the back, per usual.
Yep.
Like,
don't pick me. That's right.
You're a painfully shy kid, And she called on me, and I sang it. And when you're 6 years old, you don't know. I had no comparison to my singing compared to somebody else. I had no clue that I even had any musical ability or anything. I just knew I liked music until that moment. Because when I sang the line, the teacher in the front of the class went like this. And I'll never forget that. I thought, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
And then she went, and then she just lit up, and then that was it. Like, I was the soloist for all the, events or concerts or whatever. And then the church choir called me and had me come and sing a solo in church that the women couldn't hit. It was too high. But I was still, just a kid. I was 9 then, I think. And then it just kind of grew and grew. I wanted to learn how to play guitar. When I was 12, I kind of took it seriously. My parents wouldn't get me a guitar. They got my older brother guitar.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, man, I was 12, he was 14. And so I learned how to play on a crappy old guitar, which I actually still have.
Oh, we got to see that. Can you grab it? We got to see that.
Should I grab it?
Yeah, do it. We're going to see a really good guitar in a few minutes, but
I'm putting down my favorite new guitar for my first piece of crap guitar.
No problem. While you grab it, I'll say hi to the folks in the chat. Guys, we're going to say hi to you in a second and jump over and have some questions from everyone over there too, but let's have a look at this.
I got it already.
Looks like the old Tiesco or a kind of
a yeah. And you know what? I used it on the Making Noise CD.
Yeah.
My new CD. I used it for slide. There's a ballad that just needed some kind of slide thing, and I'd never played slide in my life, ever.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this would be a good, because action's high, and these pickups are really microphonic and really toneful in that kind of mid-range, low mid-range kind of way, which is what you want for a slide. And I just kind of tuned it as good as I could and did a thing, and it's on the record. Yeah.
And not only did you have it on the record, but you got your first guitar. I'd give anything to have my first guitar, which was not a good guitar, That is wicked. That's beautiful. That's so nice that you have it. So now, have you owned it all this time, or has that left you and it's come back, or it's been in your possession?
Actually, this is not the original.
Okay.
I have to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
This was a gift from one of my best friends who wanted me to have my first guitar.
They're very nice.
Yeah. So I've had it for a few years. When I got it, it didn't have this spring, and it actually didn't play at all. It was completely thrashed.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this. I did some research, Googled it, found out that this spring would work, and it did. And I was able to get it so it actually, I could actually use it. So
that's fantastic, and it made it on the
cool.
record. That's great.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I love it. While you put that back, I'm just going to say hi to the folks over in the chat real quick. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about that beautiful studio behind you. So joining us over in the chat, we've got James Poulin, a good friend of mine, and a longtime friend of mine, and he's helped me here on the channel as well. Dirty Apes Inc. says hello from Montana. Another great show. Thank you. I can't thank you enough, EVH Gear TV. That's from Dirty Apes. Carlo Santin, my Canadian counterpart, says happy Wednesday, everyone. Big thank you to Mitch for doing this. We all echo that statement. Jay's Tacos and Guitars, another channel I absolutely love, and another good friend. Everyone's friends here in the channel. Still have time to make a quesadilla. Yes, you do. Get your drinks and refreshments and food, and you're good to go. Lyle Ketchum says, hello, Gearheads, Eric and Mitch. Looking forward to another great show. Chris, I'm not sure if I can pronounce your last name, Myhofer, I think, but we'll call you Chris. What's up? Have you played the new 50 watt EL34? Coming very soon, so not yet, coming soon. Zachary Suter says hello. Jeffrey Monroe, good evening. Dan Wilhite's jumping in. Mystic Star saying hey everyone. And James is saying a K. Is that a K guitar?
That one that I just had? No, I think it was Teisco.
And
I think you're right. I mean, it's exactly like the one that I had, which was a Teisco.
Yeah, and that's what we'll get into Eddie Van Halen talk later on too. But that's one of the ones he started on, the Teisco Del Rey, the one with the 6 million knobs and all that kind of stuff. And
that's the only thing he and I have in common as far as guitar players.
There you go. There you go. Carl Sanders says, consumers distributing, James, bringing back memories. Yeah, that was a store here in Canada. That was a catalog order. You walk in there, you put a little card. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Bill Sy says, hey, Mitch, love your singing. And this is really, really cool. Here's a question I'm going to just gonna ask, and we talked about this off the air. OK Go says, didn't he play with Mike Kimmel? And I had to say this to you. I said hi to Mike Kimmel. Mike went live just before we're going live here. And I said, hey, I got great stuff. He was doing some Van Halen, pumped me up. I said, perfect timing. You pumped me up for the interview with Mitch. And he says, oh, be sure to say hi to Mitch. So I'm relaying that right now. So a little bit of a connection with Mitch? I mean, with Mike, I mean?
With Mike, yeah. Mike, I discovered Mike back in, before I had a deal, I think. Mm-hmm. I was looking for a guitar player. I was looking to put a band together. And the guys at Paul Reed Smith told me about him.
Okay.
Because he's from that area.
Yep.
And then we hooked up and we recorded some stuff, and then we parted ways, and then we got back together years later and did some more stuff. And then just like I've probably done a few things with Mike over the years, probably 3 different times we've gotten together. He's obviously an amazing guitar player. Yeah.
He is for sure.
Yeah.
And here's a question coming up from the first of all, Jack Shea Martin says, hey, Eric, and Mystic Star says, is that your home studio? And that's the next question I want to ask you. You've come from some real humble beginnings. You had kind of like a very basic do-it-yourself kind of studio to where you are now, and that studio has become something that you've worked with some of the A-list names in the industry, from country to rock to everywhere in between. Tell us a little bit about really what got the bug in you to, okay, I want to do this myself. It gets expensive to go into these studios all the time and cater to their hours. And first of all, the money is crazy. Yeah. So you got into it, and now you're doing it professionally as well. So tell us from the timeline, A to B.
Okay, well, I come from a little town in North Dakota called Dickinson, North Dakota, right? And I started doing this when I was 12. Right? So I started playing guitar when I was 12 and formed my first band when I was 12. And, we had no resources there. Like, we were the only ones doing it. And it's not like we had, big brothers to kind of, mentor us or, anything. There wasn't anybody to help ever. So I just always developed this thing, like just do it yourself kind of thing. Right? So when I was 18, I got my first tape deck, and just started recording myself. And of course, I was horrible at it. I mean, because it's a whole nother art form. You can't just push record and go. You got to really know what you're doing. It's a whole nother movie, right? So I was doing that. I got to the point where I did my own demos then. And when I got my deal on RCA, I mean, many years later, they handed me a demo budget for the first album, and the demo budget was $20,000.
Oh boy!
Right, and we're gonna, you should go into blah blah studio in Manhattan, and and I was like, no, I don't think so. I think I'll just take that $20,000 and I'll make my own demos, because that's what I always did. I've been doing it already for 20 years. And
that's a smart decision too, by the way.
Yeah, it was like, do I really have to do that, or can I take the money and make my own studio? I already had my own studio. That's
right.
So I just took that 20 grand and threw it into better gear and just kept building it up. And and in that first album, I really co-produced that first album. I didn't get credit for that, but I'm just really active in the studio always. So it was a natural progression for me to be doing what I'm doing now.
Wicked. And that's the thing too. That's a nice sign of entrepreneurship. The fact that, $20,000 advance. Now, I mean, obviously you're not just going to go grab a Tascam 4-track in that day, a cassette and make a demo, say, here you go. And you've got, $19,990 left in the bank. You actually invested it in something and, reinvested. And that's a good sign of someone that really wants a long stay in the business, reinvesting in themselves, not necessarily turning a profit for many, many years. But that's fantastic. And the fact that you did that shows, I probably showed a lot to them too.
Well, it worked out. They loved the demos that I made after that, and it was fine. And then, of course, when it was time to make the record, we went into a big, music grinder in LA. That was the primary cutting tracking room that we used, and various other studios in LA we used. But yeah, I mean, I'm a constantly upgrading the studio and changing with the times. And actually, I was a little bit ahead of, well, I shouldn't say a little, I was way ahead of the curve on the computer recording thing, to the point where I really had no business doing it. Like, the computer was not powerful enough to do what I was doing. And I was wondering why I was literally like pulling my hair out trying to make things work. But I saw that it was the future, and I was right about that, luckily. So now I'm many, many, many years into software recording and editing and all that.
That's what you're telling me off the air as well too, because you build a lot of your computers, and I can just imagine I'm just trying to put myself in your mindset. Okay, this is not good enough, so I'm going to build a new computer. And I like to look at things here on a small scale level in a house, and this happens in a lot of families, and I'll just say it happens with a lot of guys, because the guys are usually the techie guys, and I'm not saying there's not a lot of techie girls out there. There is. I'm not trying to be, chauvinistic or anything like that. Yeah. But I'll hook up something, I'll have a streaming box, and I'll have a receiver, and I'll have it hooked up to the TV, and the wife will say, okay, great, I know how to work it. Then I bring in a new box, and I change something else, and she's like, how do I work this now? I don't know how to get my signal. And imagine you in the studio environment. That's one thing. I just have like a mixer and I have some computer software. That's all I have. I don't want any more, and I can't even run that. But I can imagine in the studio, like you and Eddie Van Halen, all these guys. Okay, now what do? I added this new stuff. Now I got to learn this new stuff. It's this cycle of new gear, new learning, new gear, new learning, and it's probably an evolution that never ends.
Well, yeah, I hope the manufacturers hope so.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
The software developers hope so, but I have to give it up to them, because, I was, like I said, kind of ahead of the curve. So I was the first kind of guy on my block to have the UAD card that powered the plugins, and then computers got more powerful, and you didn't really need that card, but I still have that. But and then Stephen Slate came out with just this brilliant. All his stuff is brilliant, so I'm a full endorser for Stephen Slate. I have everything that he makes, and I use it daily. He's kind of my go-to guy for plugins, and there's just so many new things coming out all the time, and they just get better and better and better and better and better. And
that's right.
I'll never forget the first time I A/B'd a Tube Tech software Tube Tech compressor to my Tube Tech.
Mm-hmm. You're like, whoa.
And I was like, are you kidding me? You know, and I know some, the manufacturers. I know some, hardware manufacturers,
Sure.
and I'm telling them this, and they're like, no, 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 and I'm like, yeah, it's really, really good.
I like it. And there's going to be a couple questions I see in the chat here. They're going to kind of ask you about that as well, too, between software and hardware. Lyle Ketchum says, question, as you were learning to play, when exactly did you realize you had something special going on? And before you get into the playing, like you started to say about church and school, first of all, and then you did church after, but school, the teacher recognized you. So that was one thing. But when did you learn as far as the instrument that, okay, I actually can play some guitar pretty good, too?
The guitar for me was my approach to the guitar was simply to back up my voice.
Gotcha.
That was the only reason really that I started playing the guitar, and it was acoustic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And until the Machine Head, Deep Purple Machine Head record, I found that, and I was like, and that really, really taught me how to play the electric guitar. And I think when I found that I could actually do some of that stuff, like I couldn't do it all. I'm nowhere near that level of a guitar player,
mm-hmm.
but I'm good at what I am good at.
Mm-hmm.
I never pushed the boundaries that far to become a virtuoso type guy, and those guys, it's a whole different breed.
You know your strengths.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so much practicing. It's just hours and hours and hours and days and months and years, and it just goes on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather write songs and make records.
There's always going to be a guitar player to play the part.
Yeah, I can play, I have good tone in my hands,
mm-hmm.
and, good amps, and I know the difference between, how it's supposed to sound and all that, as a producer. But yeah, my guitar playing, I don't know. It was more of a combination of my singing and my guitar playing together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that felt like there was something going on, and people would say to me, there's something going on there.
That's right.
As a kid.
That's a couple languages that you're speaking. It's almost like speaking French and speaking German. The German is the guitar player, the French is the singer, and the melodies. And you're speaking these two languages to two different people to convey the same topic.
Right.
And just enough to get it down, and that's very, very important. The fact that, number one, you don't have to have a guitar player, come zooming in at 3 o'clock in the morning when you have an idea to sketch down a track. You've got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, not the fact that you just do it to get by. You do very, very well. So fantastic. So kudos to you on that. Over to the chat, we've got JD Gonzalez jumping in saying hi guys. Humbucker Lover, who runs another great YouTube channel, just did some great video lessons on discovering tone for beginners. Awesome, check him out. And our good friend Cameron Brown says, hello, sorry I'm late. And that's late for him. He's about 5 hours ahead of us. Says, sorry I'm late.
Go to bed.
You go to bed. You should be in bed. You could be watching the replay, but it's always nice to be here in the live chat. He says, I'm jealous of your hair as always, Mitch. I don't even have this on the itinerary, but let's talk a little bit about your mentoring and kind of tutorials you've given Cameron and kind of taking him under your wing. He was great on the show last weekend too. A lot of people really loved him. Tell us a little bit about Cameron.
Yeah, I think like pretty much everybody, I discovered him online, and I don't even remember how. He probably have to tell that story. I don't remember how, but I remember hearing him play and thinking, whoa, because you could tell he was just a kid.
Yep.
That this was a few years ago now, going back.
He'd be in his teens.
He looked like he was 16 years old.
Yep.
Or something, and he was maybe a little older than that, but Cameron looks younger
as it is. Yeah.
Baby face boy, but yeah, and so it became apparent to me that Cameron had spent all that time learning all those riffs, all that practicing, all those hours and weeks and years, and getting the dexterity in his hands, and the separation of notes that Cameron has is really extraordinary. And you could hear every note with him. He's really, really good. But the thing that Cameron for me was missing was the pain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And and this was pointed out to me when I was his age as well. They said in my singing and in my music in general, they said, you've got this talent, but it's not, there's not enough feeling behind it.
Yep. No sorrow, right? No, gut.
the pain and the anguish and
Yep.
So that was my probably the main thing that I helped Cameron with was just digging in a little deeper. And then I got him to get away. I said, listen, you've got all the speed. Okay, you got the speed. It's not going to go away. You got the speed. Let's start listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan and start listening. You need some blues. You need some.
Yep.
And so he did that, and wow, it just. I mean, it took maybe a year or two or something for him to really settle into it, but he really has, and I really think that he's got it all. He's got the convincibility on the guitar to just draw you in and force you to listen, which is a huge talent.
I really like how you said the pain, and I'm gonna put my spin on that. How I foresee that. A lot of these kids, and I'll say Cameron as a kid because he's a young. Anybody that's he's a kid, but he's a talented kid, and he's great because it's great because he's a kid because he's got a huge future ahead of him. But when you say the pain, the things that you and I and everyone else that's of our age, the pain of playing some gigs that are absolutely horrible, breaking down buses on the road, sometimes starving for food. You make enough money from a show to feed maybe the band if you're lucky or share a sandwich. So that's some pain too. And a lot of these younger talented individuals, guys and girls, they'll play at home, do all this kind of stuff. They haven't experienced, maybe am I going to make it home? Am I going to see my parents again? There's so many factors. And another thing I like to say too about you, and I feel this too as well too, when you've talked about, and I didn't know a lot about the church background, but singing in the choir, and I had Jeff Scott Soto the other night on the show, and I listened to his voice so much too, and I compare you two guys a lot, and this whole fact that, well, both of you have really cool hair, but but on top of that, and I used to have cool hair, but anyways, you saw some of the photos, but the church and the soul background, I could picture either one of you guys getting up in front of a Baptist church and just bringing it home. You know what I mean? And you could also do some rock. You can do some anything in between, country, and still not sell it, own it, right? So those are tools in the toolbox that a lead vocalist, front person needs to have.
Yeah, and there has to be a level of commitment to the music to make people care.
Yep.
Otherwise, who cares?
Yeah, they have to invest in you.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to expose yourself.
No, that's right. And fall fall on your face.
Yeah, that's where all the magic is, and if you can't do that and reach that place, then you're not going to draw anybody in, and nobody's going to care. No one's going to believe what you're doing.
That's right. That's like any of us go and work at a retail shop and sell a product, whether you're selling ladies' lingerie or fridges and stoves and appliances. You have to at least go home and study the product and believe in it and have some background before you can sell it to anybody. So listen to as much music as you can, get a little bit of cred with each one of those things, and then when people come to see you, there's that investment again. They're going to invest a little bit if they think you have some roots with it.
Yeah. And if you make them feel something, then they're gonna want, they're gonna want to know who you are.
That's right. So it was a real pleasure having Cameron on the show the other day, and he showed a lot of love and shared some things off the air with me too as well that he's very thankful for you. So kudos to you for mentoring upcoming talent, and I know it won't be your last time for sure. It's one of the things where pay it forward, right? And you probably didn't have a lot of people helping you. The internet is a different place today, so now you have tools that you can reach out to the up-and-comers and say, here's where I went wrong. I would like to save you some of the shortcomings I had or the mistakes I made, and take this as you will, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I have them reaching out to me now, and I'm just really, I don't blow people off.
No.
People write to me, I write them back, and I tell them honestly. I think that you should be honest, and that's like time is important, and so don't waste people's time.
That's right.
And just tell them what you think. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm always right, but I'm going to give it. If somebody asks my opinion, I'm going to give it.
That's right. And it's nice to share positive and exciting things. You shared something, I won't go into it right off directly, but you shared something with me on Facebook where a fan had said something very pleasant about you, and one of their children had discovered your music. It was going to be a great day because of Mitch. And it's nice. Isn't that neat how the little positive things, you can just pay it forward? And when you shared that with me, it put me in a good mood that day. And it was early in the morning. And I'm like, this is cool, And then next thing you know, you're going to talk to somebody else and you're already now in a good mood. Music can really cross those boundaries and kind of take our mundane, sometimes stressful jobs and lives and just kind of put it at the back door for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the power of it. That's, when I got, I got a message from a fan that, her 12-year-old son.
That's it. Yeah.
Had said on his way out the door, she said, have a good day or whatever. And he's like, I'm going to save my soul with a little bit of rock and roll. It's going to be a Mitch Malloy day. For the first song on the Making Noise record is called Rock and Roll. And that's the chorus. I'm going to save my soul with a little bit of rock and roll.
I love that.
So for me, it was like a 12-year-old boy just said that. Like, it just makes you feel like it's not all for nothing. Like I'm doing this not for myself. I'm doing it for myself, yes, but I'm also doing it for, whoever.
You'd never expect in a million years to reach to an audience like that, and when you do, it's like, wow, and then you put yourself in check. Like, I'm catering to these men and women of all these different ages and demographics. Now kids are actually getting it, and then kind of, okay, let's focus on that a little bit, and that's very rewarding for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing to reach new generations.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things I love about the mentoring as well, because that's another generation, and then they reach their generation, and you had some kind of a help with that. And it's just, for me, life is about helping other people. That's really the only important thing to me, I shouldn't say the only, but that's the most important thing to me. I mean, I'm a dad, so obviously, being a parent to my daughter is the most important thing that I can do with my life. But I think that just doing stuff for other people so it impacts their life, for me, feels the best out of everything.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm glad you said dad right there too as well, because we're both fathers. But I want to go back just to Cameron for a second too. And another key to his success, which I know you're going to agree, is that family that he has. And a lot of these families a lot of these young kids have family behind him. He had half of Scotland on the show that day. Hey, hi from Uncle Johnny, hi from Uncle Andrew, and so that goes to show a lot too. So family behind. My parents were very supportive. My mom more so than my dad. Love my dad to death. They're both gone. Let's talk about that. How were your parents? What kind of influence did they have, other than not wanting to buy you the guitar and getting your brother the guitar? Yeah,
well, my dad was a musician when he was a kid. But then he went into the army, and when he got out, he became a lawyer.
Okay.
So he went away from it. So he was very, very nervous about me having a career in music. He fought me on it. Mm-hmm. He kind of left me alone until he could see, when I got to be about 16, I think, and he could see that was my focus. Then he pulled me aside and was like, he tried to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
He fully tried to stop it.
I could see from him, I know why. I know why he would.
Yeah, you're not. He said, no, you're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to spend the rest of your life, playing in crappy bars for people who don't care and da-da-da-da. And I feel that. I mean, I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. That was a good thing for your dad to say. I mean, but my mom was always really supportive. But that's the kind of the dark side of it. But when I got my contract,
you changed.
I sent it to him because my dad was a lawyer.
Read the contract, right? Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was blown away.
Yeah. Way to go, boy.
He was very proud. Yeah. And then and then people would come up to him and say, "Are you Mitch Malloy's dad?" And he was like, "Yes, I am."
Of course I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So I won him over for sure.
I love that. And as any good father would do, we all do this as fathers. We always want our daughters or sons to do better than, no matter how well we've done or not done, we always want them to do better than us. So, and we talk about this in the show a lot, education, as much as pursue your dream in music and go for it and never, ever let anyone tear that down from you or take it away from you. No one can take music away from you, but what piece of advice would you offer to someone? Let's take the music to the side and let's talk about the education. How important is that in a youth?
Education of what sort?
Business, marketing, English, just good education.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I've got my kid in the best school I can possibly have her in.
Mm-hmm.
I And that to me is the number one thing for her to be educated properly.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that advantage, in a small town, and just went to, the school that was there. And so, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely huge. It's talk about mentoring. I mean, that's where it starts.
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's really, really positive and a really strong thing. I wish I had better education. I went to music school for 1 year out of high school, and it was really good. But for me, it was like, I just want to go rock.
Mm-hmm.
And
as us as parents, I mean, we definitely can't change time. So all we can do now for our children is to say, look, I know this sounds stereotypical. I walked a mile up the hill, 5 miles this way, walked down 5 miles this way in my bare feet, and I had it rougher than you. But seriously, kid, please get a good education. Music is great, and you may be the next Kiss. I doubt it, but I mean, you may be the next Kiss. But at the same time, when the Kiss comes down, you need to open up a store or keep the lights on in the house.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So very cool. I'm going to jump to the chat for a quick second. We're going to come back to one other question about, actually a couple questions about some gear with you, guitars and amplifiers, and then we're going to get into some fun Van Halen questions. Okay. Over in the chat, Guitar Corner is jumping in saying, very cool. Mystic Star asks you, when you talked a little bit about software and hardware, he says, do you like Positive Grid software or any of the modeling type software?
I actually, as far as guitar playing goes?
Yeah, maybe just recording a scratch track or even getting some interfacing in there.
Well, I'm a Kemper endorser. Is that what he means? That kind of thing?
Well, he was talking about, in this case, he was talking about Positive Grid, like, the bias amp and bias effects. But yeah, we can turn it right over to Kemper.
Is that when you're making your own guitar? I'm not sure what that is.
What it is it's one of the, because Positive Grid also makes amplifiers as well too, but they're kind of the there's iRig and things like that before. Positive Grid started off with Jam Up, an iPad device, an iPad interface where you could record and have effects and that. Then they've kind of gone full blown into hardware pedals, but it's a nice recording interface where you can have like a Marshall 412 or, with a direct plug-in, whatever. But you're more of a hardware based guy.
Yeah, I think I've seen ads for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of feel like I've already got that covered.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I've got everything I need. For me, when the Kemper came out, I jumped right on it. And I've been extremely happy with it. I've used it live. I use it in the studio every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I have tons of amps, still that are nice furniture. I mean, it's funny because my studio's in my house. So when I got the Kemper, they asked me for a quote, and I said, this device saved my marriage.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Saved this device, and then my quote was, "This device saved my ears and my marriage."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because guitar amps are very loud.
Yes.
They're very, very loud.
I have a device right behind me. You can probably see it just a little bit. It's a competing product as well too. I shouldn't say competing product. It's another product. No one's a competitor. It's all different products. The Line 6 Helix, and I love my EVH amps to death. I love them to death. I mean, I would. They're my children. But this thing, I'm playing more guitar now because of this. Because at 11 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, if I get an idea, I can throw it on the computer, and no one hears me other than the clacking of strings on my electric guitar.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in that. There's
a
lot of value in not making 110 decibels of noise.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
There's value in that too.
And you as an engineer, okay, but you're moving mics every day, and maybe you're having a bad day, and it's not the fault of the microphone or the placement. You just can't freaking get your head around mic placement one day, and you're spending 20 minutes, 2 hours trying to get mic placement, then get a tone, and for either you or your people you're working with, the creativity's gone out the window, and production time and money has gone out the window too.
Yeah, because I mean, really, tube amps sound different every day.
They sure do. Yep.
It's like,
yep.
The consistency of the Kemper. I'm also using the atomic amplifier.
Yes. So you're endorsing the Kemper, which is great, and that's the perfect timing too, because we were going to talk about that in the guitar. So you've been an endorsed artist of the Kemper for quite some time, and I was going to ask if you use it live in studio, and you answered both of those. So let's talk a little bit further about the atomic.
Yeah, the atomic. I found out about that maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
Ish. It was before my last European tour, maybe a year and a half ago, and they sent me one, and I was like, "Whoa!" I mean, he told me it has the same chip as the Axe FX,
Okay.
right? Which is a great box. Which I've never played through one, but I have lots of friends who have.
Sure, me too.
And so I know it's a great box. And so, yeah, I mean, I actually used on my tour. There were a couple nights where I had crappy amps on stage.
Yeah, like backline that they provide for you.
Yeah, you get the backline that's provided. Sometimes the amps were like, I don't know.
I know. How am I going to do this?
And, yeah, so I had the Atomic with me because it's this big.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's literally this big. It's got 3 foot jacks on it, and it's that big, and it weighs like nothing. It's like I don't think it weighs as much as my phone. You know what I mean? Like it weighs nothing.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to have it on tour.
Yeah, sure.
And I used that a few nights on the tour, and the tone was fantastic.
You know what you should do? You need to put that in your rider to say, you need to pull an Yngwie and say, I want 60 Atomics. You know what I mean? And all these little tiny amplifiers stacked like Lego. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, and the band should play from the dressing room.
Yeah, and do it. Let's combine Yngwie with Spinal Tap and do Stonehenge and have miniature Stonehenge. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. No, we won't go that route. But that was a funny visual for a second. I love it. Let's hop over to guitars. So you showed us your very first guitar. You know, now kind of a gift of the one that you started off with. And you've gone full circle from that to something phenomenal where, you know, with your hard work over the years, you've actually, instead of having to go out there and pound the pavement and sell yourself, you've established a name and people, you know, your phone will ring, you'll get an email from people like that. And Landon Guitars come in contact with you. And I'm going to put it on the big screen. We got to see this. Tell us a little bit about this hot T-style guitar.
Yeah, look at this neck.
Roasted maple.
I told them I wanted roasted maple, and I really like the stripes. It's fun to look down and see the stripes. And they were like, "You want stripes? We got stripes."
That's a tiger.
Yeah. So, and I wanted the contours. I got the tummy contour, and this contour I had to have because on my last tour, I was playing a cream telly that I built myself. I like to build guitars, and I was bruising my arm. Like I had bruises all over my arm. I mean, one night I think I was in Norway. I ripped up my fingers. I was bleeding all over. You know, being a Viking that I am, bleeding all over the guitar, bleeding. There was literally blood all over the stage. My set list had blood all over it. Anyway, so I might look pretty, but on stage I like to rock.
That's right.
So I had to have a contour, right? So they did these beautiful contours.
Both contours, love that to death.
This guitar is amazing. I fought them on the wood choice. They wanted me to do ash, but I like light guitars.
So what'd you go with?
And I recently discovered this wood called Paulownia.
Okay.
Which is a really light, resonant wood. It kind of gives the guitar a little bit of a semi-hollow vibe.
Gotcha.
It has that sort of an open, and it's really, really light. So they took the Paulownia and they put a maple cap on it to give it a little bit more beef. So it has a maple cap on it, and the neck is completely to my spec. It's like the exact neck that my hand wants to feel. And it's got Babiche bridge, which is their locking. It's an amazing bridge. The company Babiche.
Yes.
Yeah. And Hipshot locking tuners.
Very nice.
Amazing company, Hipshot. I've been with them for years and years. And P90s. I wanted P90s. I just love the way P90s sound. And I have my guitars where I can nerd out. This is great that I'm on this show because I can totally nerd out on this stuff because normally I can't go this deep.
That's what it's all about. Yeah,
but I don't use tone. I have found that the tone circuitry, it kind of clouds the bandwidth of the guitar.
Okay.
It's another piece of circuitry that's inside your guitar that you're hearing, right? So I ditch all the tone and I do 2 volumes with the toggle.
I like that.
I like to be able to go gang, 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 gang,
Sure.
gang, 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 like the on-off thing.
Yep.
I like being able to do that. So I go away and I find that the guitars really open up when you take the tone out. So 2 volumes, no tone.
I find a lot of the guys doing that with the AVH Wolfgangs as well too. You know, Eddie doesn't prefer to have the tone in a lot of cases. He's done it too,
Really?
starting with PV just to sell a bit more guitars, you know, to the audiences that may want a tone. But a lot of guys are pulling out the tone knobs and throwing in a kill switch or just ripping it out completely. And I like that analogy too. It's kind of something that's in the way, you know, for a lot of guys. Not everybody, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, some guys have to have it. It's part of their thing, but it's never been part of my thing. I'm never tweaking the tone to get a slightly different sound. I'm not, I'm playing differently to get a slightly different sound, or I'm turning my volume down a little bit to get a slightly different sound. I'm relying on my hands, right? And not pedals.
That's right.
Yep.
I'm
pretty old school like that. I have pretty clean sound. Right. And I will boost for solos.
Of course.
But that's and I have a delay, always on. I love delay.
That's my one pedal as well. Yep.
Yeah. So I keep it really simple. And I didn't know that guys are taking out their tone. I didn't know that.
A lot of them do. A lot of the purists will do that just because it's like, I don't use it anyways. It's just an extra thing. So, yep. And
you can hear the difference.
You can, yeah. And why do you think Eddie Van Halen had one knob and he labeled it? He used a tone knob just to make a statement. Volume is tone.
Yeah, I mean, and you can hear, like, you A-B. Okay, here's the guitar with a tone. And you can even record it like that and then take it out and record again. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Badass.
That's right. It's almost like having 15 pedals between your guitar and your amplifier as well, too. There might be some cool pedals in between, but there are some things that's being robbed. Your weakest link is your chain, right? So.
Absolutely.
There you go. I'm going to jump over to the chat real fast here, and then we're going to come back to a couple questions here as well. So Mystic Star says, always stay true to yourself. A very remarkable talent. Chris Jones says, okay, so we're going to talk about Eddie Van Halen. So Chris, I'm going to save your question for Eddie in a second. Carlo Santin says, that's great that you're mentioning young talent, Mitch. I have a lot of respect for people who are willing to do that, for sure. Lyle Ketchum says, much respect for paying it forward. Nothing like a talented musician reacting or reaching down and pulling younger players up to the next level for a world to see and enjoy. And speaking of guitar builders, before I mention Craig, Craig is a great guitar player and builder. I want to go back to Landon for a second. USA made guitars, 100%.
USA made. They're just outside of Seattle.
Okay.
Just Landon Guitars. Look them up. And, he told me that his goal was to make me not want to play my other guitars.
That's good.
Well, actually, what he said is, my goal is to make you want to throw your other guitars away.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, lofty goal.
That's a big goal.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, and he achieved his goal partially because it's the only guitar I play now. I don't know what he did. His whole thing is he wants to put mojo in guitars, and he did it. And I have 4 Andersons.
Good guitars, very good guitars. Elite.
And I'm playing this guitar.
That says something.
So, but the guitars that I build, I'm not playing those so much anymore.
I like that.
And not playing anything except this. That's like, and I'm not just saying that.
No, I know.
It's
I like
real.
his mojo too. I like his mojo because no one, with that claim that he's asking you to, replace a lot of guitars, no one wants to step up to the bat and bunt. You know what I mean? You want to step up to the bat and, you don't try for a grand slam because you're probably going to strike out. But when you get up to the plate, you want to at least get a nice solid hit. And he's done that with that guitar. So I'm going to mention Craig Rentals. Craig's building guitars right now with George Lynch, building the limited edition Bones guitars. I think they're making like 10 or 15 of them. They're really like one of a kind. And they're not just like copies. They're working on them together. I got to play the actual #1 at NAMM. It was very, very cool. I didn't want to touch it. It was quite cool. So that was neat. So Craig Rendels, he's joining us from Russia. He's a Russian and also has that place over in North America as well too in the States. So very, very cool. Lyle Ketchum's jumping in again too. James Poulin says, question for Mitch. I really love the song Anything at All. How did that song come together?
I wrote that song with a guy named Mark Ribler.
Okay.
And we were writing for the first album. Mark and I ended up writing almost half of the record, I think, together. It was a really, really powerful partnership, songwriting partnership. And I think we had written a couple songs already. And I said, Mark, I want this next song, I want it to be very like an anthem. Like, I want the guitar to be like, how AC/DC does. Like, I want it to be like, and he was like, I've got this guitar riff. Like,
there you
and,
go.
He had, I don't know if you can hear this.
Yep.
And I was like, the melody just hit me immediately. And it sounded like anything at all when I went and I did that. It just it sounded like anything at all.
Yeah.
Anything at all. Yeah, and then it was so boom, 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 and we were off and running. It was like whoosh, and the song was seriously done probably 15 minutes.
Wow.
Like that. It was so easy to write. It was just that easy. Because when you're inspired like that, it's just like, you get excited and things like start flooding into you. You're like, how about this? How about this?
Yep. Don't let people tell you that you have to be labored over a song to make it a good song. That's false. It can be, but it can be an easy one too.
Yeah, I'm all about making things better for sure.
That's right.
But sometimes the songs just fall out. It's just like, poof.
Yep, that's right. Actually, I think when anything happens in life easy, it makes you appreciate the things that you've had to work for really hard, and then you save that for a rainy day. Yeah, for sure. Mr. C5150 says, checking in from Rochester, New Hampshire, hello. And Craig Reynolds says, my father was a professional jazz player, sax, clarinet, piano, and vocals. He was always encouraging about me playing music. I remember him playing Malmsteen, and Craig does Malmsteen very, very well, on the clarinet while showing me some scales. Now that I would love to be a fly on the wall in that room. Pretty cool. And yeah, the Kemper rocks, he says as well too. I know he has. I think he actually has a Kemper. He has a lot of gear, including EVH as well too. Jeffrey Monroe, so lots of love for the Kemper. Says I love my Kemper. Dirty Apes Inc. says Malmsteen on clarinet. Cool. And Craig says the Tim Caswell profiles are amazing for the Kemper. Now I don't know much about the Kemper, so I don't know Tim Caswell from the Next. But are you familiar with that one or?
I'm not. My favorite amp is called a Bloody Rocca.
Okay.
It's called the Bloody. It's a guy in Germany, AC's Guitar Lounge. He has his own guitar store, right? And he builds his own guitar. He has his own guitar line, and he's got his own guitar, his own amp line. And I can't get. He won't sell to me because he's in Germany.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So he can't.
Yeah.
Right. So the day I saw him on YouTube saying I'm going to do profiles of my amp, I was like, yes!
Yeah, thank goodness, because you can send it electronically, right?
Yeah. So his amp is a modded Plexi. It's based on a Plexi, but it's way better than a Plexi for me. So that's my primary amp that I use on almost everything. That's what I used on the tour. The Making Noise record has got the Bloody Rocker amp all over it. Good
to know. And it goes to show you too, some of these things can actually really, really happen for people. That's how I got involved with Line 6. I had Jeff Waters from Annihilator, a Canadian heavy metal band. They're world respected, and he did his entire record, the new record that's just coming out, all with a Helix. And these are guys that played Marshalls and Laney and EVH and all these other things like that. And if it's sometimes whatever the tool is for the job, if it works and can save you some time and can be a fly rig and everything else, you'd be kind of foolish not to embrace it. Right?
Well, I don't have an amp that sounds as good as that profile.
Yeah, there you go. And it's consistent. Profiles don't change.
For me, I like a certain thing. I have amazing amps that other players probably like more than I like.
Of course, yeah.
I've got Matchless and all this, I've got boutique amps that are great. But there's just something about that profile, that amp. He did an amazing job profiling it. He really knows what he's doing. And so, and I'm not an endorser or anything. He doesn't do that. I bought the profiles.
Just like I would or next guy would.
Yeah, I just like talking about it because it's great.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So it's not a sales pitch for sure.
No.
Mystic Star says, Mitch, thank you so much for your honesty as a new player on the scene. Do you have any suggestions in regards to marketing the music that a person may make?
videos,
Yep.
videos,
and more
videos.
Instagram. Yeah, exactly.
Instagram, YouTube. I mean, that's Cameron Brown right there.
Exactly. It works. Tag, and here's the advice I gave to Cameron the other day as well, and tell me what you think on this. I said, tag people, but don't go overboard. Make yourself known without being high maintenance. And he's doing it right. Don't get me wrong. He's doing it very, very, he's doing it perfectly. Tag people, take some pictures, not just always video. Take some pictures of your gear, share it with the people, and then follow people. Follow some of the people. Here's a really good one. Follow people that you admire are following, right? Get in their circles. Get in the circle of these people. Engage in some conversations, right? And eventually, it's your kind of, hey, I think I had a conversation with you one time. Your name sounds familiar. Meanwhile, you just commented on somebody's comment. Yeah. Very cool.
That's the strongest advice I think we could have for somebody young. Mm-hmm. That's their vehicle now. I mean, that's, there's still the old, getting a record deal and having a big company behind you and all that. That's still active. It still works. Mm-hmm. But mostly the video thing is, it's an easy thing to do too.
That's right.
Really easy.
It is. You can do it with your phone. You don't have to have good gear. For you and I, our thing back in the day, and because we're of the same age, was a staple gun and posters on hydro poles, telephone poles. Chicky, you know what I mean? Come see our shows, $2 cover and 50 cents for the girls, that kind of stuff, right? It's a different place today, but you just have to, it's a different tool. It's no different. It's just a different time, so yeah, for sure. And Carlo Santin says he hates the tone knob, never touch it, just volume all the time. And a lot of people echoing that statement as well too. So here's what I want to get into now. We're going to jump into some Van Halen questions. And before we even get into the fun stuff, so let's go back to 1996. We lost Sammy Hagar as the singer in Van Halen. And before I even talk about auditions and getting gigs and stuff like that, we all know, and a lot of people, some people that don't know you, but the people that do know you know that you're first and foremost a big Van Halen fan. So David Lee Roth, a lot of us here on the show are either a Roth or a Sammy guy, and there's no right or wrong, and I don't hate anybody for saying either one. I like them all. I like Gary. I love Your Time. I love all of it. I'm a Roth guy. So Roth is gone. Okay, now we lost David Lee Roth. Now Sammy Hagar's in the band. Okay, well, he's saved the band. We're going. It's, better than not having a Van Halen. Sammy Hagar is gone. So what was your thought in 1996? Sammy Hagar is gone, and there's no singer in Van Halen. How did you feel as a fan?
Well, you have to imagine that I found out about this before anybody else.
Mm-hmm. I can see where this is going. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they called me.
Yep.
And they're like, "Are you sitting down?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Sit down." So, they're like, Sam's out, and we want you. And I'm like, what? So I didn't get to kind of react as a fan.
Yeah.
I didn't get to react as a fan. I didn't have what that's an interesting question you just asked me that nobody's ever asked me, and I don't have a response because
you didn't have the time.
I didn't get to do that. I was approached to be their singer. That's how I found out. So the kind of fan thing goes out the window, because you immediately go into, holy crap mode, So, I mean, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of, the first two albums were, really, really instrumental in my kind of development, I think, as a musician. And it's funny because I told Ed, and he didn't like this, but it's true. I told him that I actually stopped playing guitar when their album came out.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't even comprehend what he was doing. I was like, I can't even, I know that's a guitar, but I don't understand what he's doing. And if I don't understand what he's doing, and he's like the new benchmark, then I probably shouldn't be playing guitar. That was my thought. I should just concentrate on being a singer, because I'm better at that anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So for 2 years, I almost didn't even touch the guitar.
I don't blame you. A lot of people have gone that route too. And today we see people, the Eddie Van Halens and the Joe Satrianis and all these people, where sometimes it'll scare you away from the instrument. But we just have to try to say, okay, I'm not necessarily going to be like him. I'm going to be like me, but I need to channel that energy from that person and keep going. But you know, it'd be funny. I wish I could say I'd like to be like the fly on the wall again. And had it been when that phone call comes in from Van Halen or management or whatever, and I would like to say, if I was you, I'd say, can I just have a few minutes to grieve here for a few minutes? But at the same time, you know, okay, put my personal feelings aside. Okay, Van Halen's calling me to get into the position. So that is awesome. So no grieving time as a fan. So we can take that out of the question. That the equation's gone with that. So let's talk about so there's an offer coming into you. Sammy's gone, Dave's gone, Van Halen's moving forward. We want you to be the singer. When did you first get to be in the presence of Mr. Eddie Van Halen himself? And tell us a little bit about, I know how like when you came in, you know, it wasn't necessarily work on day one, kind of relax, chill, go do some grocery shopping and kind of fun stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about from basically getting off the plane and leading up to 5150 Studio.
Okay, so I was picked up by a limo, and I vocalized in the limo the whole time there, like doing scales, you know, getting ready, because I wasn't sure, honestly, what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And the way 5150 is, it's kind of the way his house is, right? It's in the hills, right? So the big gate opens, and you enter, and there's a garage on the left where he keeps some of his sports cars, stuff, and then it goes up the hill, and then on the right is the house, and then you go a little bit further, and you know, you get up on the flat part, and then the studio is in front of you. So the car pulled up, and the guys were lined up outside in front of the studio. Like, there's Van Halen, standing there waiting for me. It was like,
no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, it was just like, wow, what is even happening right now? So I get out, and Ed approaches me right away, and you know, hugs me, shakes my hand, and I had sunglasses on. Los Angeles,
of course,
sun is bright.
Yeah.
And he actually took and lifted my sunglasses up and looked in my eyes, and he goes, "I gotta see your eyes, man."
I can see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, you know.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, I'm almost 6 feet, so he's a little bit shorter than me.
Yeah, he's
kind of looking up, and he's like, "Oh, cool, soulful eyes."
Nice. So there's point one. That's good. That's good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, you know, and then we hung out a little bit, chatted, and he took me grocery shopping that day, and I sang that day. I mean, I sang that day. You know, some of the stuff that's out there, like Panama, and there's a couple of songs out there, I think, from that time, that moment. We were all there. The consoles, you know, in front of us. Ed's over here. I'm in the middle. Mike's here, and Al is out in the drum room, so you couldn't really see Al. And we did, I think, 5 songs. Yeah. And it was amazing. You know, I was like floating. I don't think I was actually touching the ground.
I know. And yet at the same time, too, you're there for a mission. It's almost like, okay, I'm totally fanboying out here. Okay, now I have to be the singer, and I have to control myself. That's a real juggling act there for sure. But a professional can do it.
Yeah. The fan thing completely took a second, you know, fiddle to what was happening, because, like you said, you're there to do a job. I was there to be their singer, and I'm that guy, you know, and so obviously the adoration and the respect, just like, oof, you know, through the roof. But you know, I mean, they're just dudes. You know,
they put the pants on like everybody else.
Yeah, they're just dudes, and Ed is just a dude. He's just, you know, he can be the nicest guy you ever met in your life. And he really was to me. He was so nice to me. Like, he took me, it was like almost like he was my big brother kind of thing.
Yeah, like you with Cameron a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of took you under his wing a little bit.
He totally did, and he was super sweet, and it's a good time. I
Yeah.
mean, it was, scary,
Yep.
but
Yep.
but
Well,
but really cool. I
well,
remember it like it was yesterday too,
and that's
because I think for the first 10 years, I kind of forgot about a lot of it because I never spoke of it.
I know.
I didn't speak of it for 10 years. Like
And,
nobody even knew about it.
and we'll get into
Almost
why
nobody.
too in a second too, because there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to know.
That's right. Well, here
That's
let's
why.
let's jump into it right now. And I'm gonna just set it up for you, because you had freshly moved to Nashville. Kind of a melting pot of some of the world's the best talent in the world, in my humble opinion,
You're right.
of all genre. And so Mitch Malloy is known as this versatile singer of multiple genres and styles. He's the guy that was in Van Halen, whatever, and then I decided maybe I'm not going to be in Van Halen. I might exit that. Now you're just a hard rock guy, and those phone calls for country and contemporary pop and everything else don't come in anymore. So you had to keep that on the down low, and Van Halen respected that as well too, correct?
They did. Yeah, they did. They were really cool about it. I think they were a little surprised.
Mm-hmm.
When I said to Ed, can you not talk about this or don't use my name? And he was like, okay. Like he wasn't expecting that,
Yeah.
Like anybody else would be like, could you talk about me to everyone?
Yeah, today we'd be tweeting about it and everything else.
Yeah, can you just mention my name every second?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that Ed liked. I mean, he actually told me that, so I know that. I mean, he said that to me years later. He said, "Man, you're soulful. Anybody else would have been out there, saying Van Halen, I did this and I did that and da da da, but you never did, and you kept it to yourself." And I think he appreciated the fact that I waited for 20 years, pretty much for anything to really come out. And the reason, and you haven't asked me this, but the reason I did it was because I looked at my kid one day and I thought, I do want to have a legacy, and I want to leave something for her so she knows who her dad is, knows what her dad did. And I'd been approached by this company to do this documentary for 10 years. And I finally just thought, you know what? I should probably say yes to that.
It needs to be documented. And I saw that's a very good documentary.
Right?
Yep.
I just thought it's because this is one of the best bands in the world.
Sure.
One of the most influential rock bands that will ever be. And they have so many fans who have no clue that I had anything to do with them. And that's okay. I mean, that's all right. It's not going to affect their life that much.
That's right.
But I wanted my kid to know. I just wanted her to know that I was part of that. And that was really the reason that I did it more than anything else.
Exactly. And the funny thing is about, how Eddie, you said Eddie respected you for keeping it on the down low and not just being out there. David Lee Roth, as much as we love him, and I love him to death, kind of was that guy. Unfortunately, he was so anxious to possibly be back in the band. So before I put the cart before the horse, which David Lee Roth did in this case. So before you even had the opportunity to say, guys, I think this may not be for me, before you even had that opportunity, so you are now in Van Halen. You're still, now you've had some time to be a fan, and you're now the new singer, and you're either in a hotel room somewhere or you're home, and you're turning on the TV like a lot of us did back in that day. And I remember watching this live on MTV, and I remember some of the problems it caused. Here comes Van Halen, Eddie comes out, then I think Alex, and then Michael, and then about 10 steps behind, David Lee Roth comes out, balloon pants, kind of crazy hair, short hair. And then the whole planet just lost their minds, including what was it, not Kevin, what was from Saturday Night Live, the host, forget his name now, it'll come back to me, but anyways, he's hosting it, and so the whole world, standing ovation, David Lee Roth, and you're in the hotel room as well too. Okay, what's going? Tell us about that moment. I can imagine your throat your heart went into your throat and back down again.
Yes, during that time I was home, actually back in Nashville, and Ed told me numerous times that they were going to do this thing, but he never said that we're going to do it with Dave. He never once mentioned that.
Yep, of course.
Right? So I was excited for them to, this is my new best friends.
Yep.
And as far as I knew at that time, I was in the band.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they never told me anything otherwise. I mean, Ed gave me what I turned into It's the Right Time.
Yep. Beautiful track.
Handed it to me and said, go take this and make it a song.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he do that if I wasn't in the band?
That's right.
He wouldn't. I wouldn't do that if
Nope.
I auditioned somebody and they weren't going to be with me. I'd never say, well, here, take this and make something.
You keep it protective.
I wouldn't do it.
You protect it.
Who would do that?
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't do that. He's a smart guy. So anyway, I was like, when I saw Dave come out, I was like, oh, yeah, jaw hit the floor. And I was like, ooh, okay. This is strange because they didn't even hint.
I know.
There's any future with Dave. In fact, to the contrary.
Yeah.
So for me, I was really confused, and there's been a lot of talk and a lot of forum talk. And, I don't see everything, of course, because, I don't have time to look at everything.
Of course.
But, there have been some people who have said, well, yeah, you were upset because you realized that you weren't in Van Halen in that moment.
No, I was in Van Halen at that moment.
Yeah, that's not the truth.
Exactly.
Because I knew. And so that person or those people who say that are just dead wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked because Dave was not on the list. Like,
That's right.
I was just like, what are they doing? Like, and so then I thought, well, it's just marketing,
Mm-hmm.
which it was.
Well, that's what I heard. Tell me if I'm right on this. I was told that, and I've heard through several sources as well too, and some of your sources, that MTV at the time, kind of like Billboard and the other places. Man, did I learn a lot about Billboard and things like that too through some of these Van Halen books about greasing the wheels a little bit. But MTV was basically like, if you want us to support what's going to be coming down the pipe from new Van Halen, then you need to put these guys together. Don't fight. But when I say guys together, David Lee Roth and the Van Halen brothers and Michael, and do a walk on. Let's do this hoopla, smiling babies, shaking hands, all that kind of stuff, kissing babies, and then exit. Mitch comes back in, record comes out, we're gonna embrace it. But and then that's where David Lee Roth, I love him to death, but he put that cart so far in front of the horse. He invited himself back into Van Halen, just like he did in the first place before he was in Van Halen. So he was doing it round 2, and then it just hell went to a handbasket.
Yeah, I mean, but you kind of, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you, but it occurs to me just now for the first time that, that was his band too.
Of course, yep, that one time.
Right?
Yep.
So, of course, he's going to think, yeah, I'm back in my band, because it was his, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to give him some slack.
Of course.
There. Because I think about how I would approach that, and if it was a band that I helped start and was one of the stars of whatever, I would also be probably maybe kind of assuming,
yeah,
because he wasn't just some guy like me, like just some guy that was in consideration or whatever.
Yeah.
He was actually David Lee Roth, right? So you kind of have to give him some slack, like I said, but yeah, they weren't. Yeah, no, it wasn't. That was a hard thing for Ed.
Yeah, I know. You could see it. You could feel. Oh my God, can you feel the tension in that? Oh man. And actually, at one point, Alex grabs Dave because Dave's going to go off and do his thing. Alex grabs him. And then Eddie, you could just feel the tension there. I was like, oh man, this is. I can see the caboose going off the track. There's a couple more cars going off the track. Let's hope for some survivors here.
Yeah, because they'd been with Sam for a long time and they weren't used to that anymore.
I know.
Like they weren't used to Dave's shtick.
Yeah.
So they knew it very well, of course, because they kind of grew up with it. But it'd been a while since he'd been around them.
And I felt sorry for Beck, too. He's up there ready to get his award, a nice deserved award. Love Beck. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like, okay, I guess Beck gets an award, But it was all Dave. When isn't it Dave, though? That's people talk about Dave and Dave turn it off, but Dave can't turn it off. That's just Dave, and it's Dave. Do you want it? You can't have Dave without having Dave.
exactly. Dave is Dave, and that's it. You take the good with the bad.
Yeah, for sure. A question from one of my Canadian friends here too, from Carlo Santin. He says, "Did you ever have any like? I know you regret what could have been. There could have been a tour and a record, or you could still be there today. But are there any regrets by your decision? Probably a very, very smart decision to not take it for your own reasons. We'd all like to have that opportunity to turn down Van Halen. You did have that opportunity, and do you ever regret anything about it?"
I don't regret anything in life.
Okay, good.
Honestly.
Good.
Well, I shouldn't say not anything. I mean, if I cause harm to somebody without meaning to, or you know what I mean? Like if something I did cause something really bad for somebody, I regret that.
That's a different story, of course. And you want to find amends for it somehow.
Yeah. But I don't regret decisions. I don't regret, choices in life.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I'm pretty much in the moment kind of guy. And I'm here doing this right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't lament. And I think a lot of people can't relate to that because a lot of people do lament. Mm-hmm. And so they naturally assume that I'm just like, oh, I wish I was in Van Halen. I wish I was, but I'm just, and it would be a blast, obviously, to do that. But I don't let it ruin my day.
That's right.
That I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? I have things to do.
That's right. And there's always here's something I always try to profess or to convey on this show is things do happen for a reason. I'm not trying to sound cliche, but things happen for a reason. And before I retired, there come that close to having some success with major labels, showcase for the labels, and the labels were like, okay, we'll take you, but your singer sucks. We have to replace your singer. And hey, you're talking about this is us. You talk about my singer, you're talking about us. Screw you, label, big label, big label,
big major corporate label.
Screw you, and then you don't get a second chance when you say screw you to the label. But at the same time, success and fame can change people very quickly. And I'm glad it didn't because number one, I don't want to be away from my family. I'm a very family-oriented person. It's very close. I need to be here with my family at all times, especially now. And, you can be very successful without being successful, if that makes any sense. You don't have to you don't have to have fame and Rolexes and Mercedes.
No, I mean, and I do pretty good. I have a nice life and I have a really nice house and I have a beautiful, amazing wife who is good at technology.
Great.
And like the best cook in the world and smart as I used to think I was smart until I got married to her.
I know what that's like.
And the coolest little girl who I love, and I wouldn't have that if I was in Van Halen. I wouldn't be with them.
I know. So
I wouldn't.
Huge.
Because they came along after that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is true. I just got another opportunity to be the singer of another huge band.
Okay.
And I passed on the opportunity because they work constantly. I mean, they're never home.
Yeah.
And I have a 9-year-old girl.
You can't know. That's too important. Yeah.
And it's one thing to just go out like on a tour, like in a Van Halen situation. It's different. They'll go on a tour and they come home.
Yeah.
And then they write for a record, and that's what they used to do. I mean, now I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they're. I'm sure they're doing something. I mean, Ed is so creative. I'm sure he's doing something.
He can't stop.
Constantly writing music. He's just, that's who he is. But yeah, it just didn't feel right, and I didn't want to do it. And that's not to say that I wouldn't do it if another situation came up that I thought was a better fit for me. I think I would say yes to something exciting musically and make a nice living doing and all that. Yep. But now, I'm producing. I've got acts lined up. I'm booked, and so I get to create every day.
Yep.
I'm creating, helping these artists, realize their sonic musical dream,
That's right.
And that's a cool thing, really cool thing. It's something I always saw myself doing when I was younger too.
It's a nice luxury for sure, and at the same time too, you're still young enough. We're young enough, but especially you, because you have the vehicles to do this. That when your daughter is a mid-teen, late teen, there's no reason why at that point, when some offers are coming through, or just even some fun projects you want to do, and say we're going to go off and do some cruises here and do this and do that. That you don't feel so guilty. Your daughter's going to be, she's going to, I don't want to sound negative, but she's going to be at home doing her thing. And dad time is, you know what I mean? We have a limited shelf life with our kids. You know what I mean? So,
I know, it's almost over.
Yeah. So suck it up while you can, but there's going to come time in another half a dozen years where you'll be able to do those things. So nurture it and take it in like a sponge for now. And then you've still got years ahead of you. I mean, if the Rolling Stones can... Yeah.
Those are wise words. Because I know that it's almost over with her. I mean, she's, once she hits 13, she's going to be like, oh, yeah, hey, Dad.
Yeah. I won't give any spoilers here, but I just had the Santa Claus talk. No spoilers. I just had the Santa Claus talk with my 11-year-old son, and I like to keep spirits positive as long as I can. And I cried one night. He put, the good cop, bad cop, and he put the spotlight on me. And we had Santa Claus discussion. And man, oh man, I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I cried. But when I had to have this discussion and, confront about Santa Claus, it wasn't a good night for me. And as a parent, as a dad or a mom or whatever the case may be, it's not a happy time. So enjoy this youth. Remember, as a kid, when kids are so young, you could tell them that you could fly, flap your wings. Oh, you can fly, Daddy? Yes, I can. They believe anything, right? So believe all this fun stuff and the innocent stuff and have fun and shelter them from all the negativity that's out there because they're going to see it eventually anyways, but while they can. But I love what you're doing. And it's great. So that'll come down the road, and enjoy the daddy time while you can. Are you still daddy or are you dad?
Both.
Both, yeah.
Both. Yeah, she's 9, so
okay.
There's 4th grade. There's a big difference this year.
Yeah.
Big difference. Big maturity jump this year. More attitude. You can really get a bigger window into her as a teenager, at least. Like you see those moments when you go, she was just 13 right there in that moment.
Yeah.
You're like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still, I still tickle her. We still, play goofy games and jump around and act like idiots. And she still sings songs that don't make sense.
Yep.
And, she's still really innocent kid. It's, like you said, we try to, we don't shelter her from things, but we do shelter her from things. I mean,
exactly.
The world right now is so insane, and
there's a bit of
she knows a little bit about what's going on.
Yep.
But not really. Like the other night, was Halloween, and I'd seen a thing where somebody saw like a needle in a candy bar that a kid had.
Had it locally here too, in my local city, a small city.
Yeah. So I thought, well, she's old enough now where I can say that to her.
Yep, of course.
And she handled it great.
Yeah.
I was like, honey, I don't ever want you to take this and just put the whole thing in your mouth. Just break it apart.
That's right.
And that's kind of how she eats candy anyway.
Yep, but it's extra caution.
Yeah, and she was like, what? And I said, yeah, there's some crazy people out there, and some people found like a needle in their candy, so just be careful. And she was just kind of looking at me like, whoa.
There's some bad people out there. That's the thing. The kids don't realize that because kids are so trusting. That's why kids get themselves into trouble, because they haven't learned the deception that's out there. So, you got to be careful for sure. Listen, we're at 10:18, and I want to get you out of here at 10:25. We usually run 90 minutes, but I want to get you out because you have an engagement that I want to see you off to. So I'm just going to kind of go through the last. I have more questions, but I'm going to sacrifice them, and I'm just going to go through the chat very quickly. And speaking of my son, Bane Rocks is jumping in too, and he'll call me daddy if he's in trouble for something, and I'm a dad. I'm a dad if he wants something, or vice versa. He's gonna get mad at me for saying that, but and you got to say hi to him off the air too, so he's a cool kid.
Yeah, he seems like a cool kid.
Bill Seiss says, "What was your vehicle growing up in the scene? Magazines? I'm assuming so, correct? Magazines were your thing back in the day."
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm from Dickinson, North Dakota. Like there was nothing. Like rock bands didn't even come. Like I couldn't even go to a concert. Like no band. Like I had to drive to Bismarck to see a show. Mm-hmm. Which my dad wouldn't let me do.
Yeah.
My first show was Heart.
Nice.
Yeah. Little Queen tour.
Okay.
Amazing. And that was in Fargo. It was the first real rock concert that I ever saw of a band that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So Hit Parader and Circus.
There you go.
I would wait for those issues to come out, and I would get them, and I would go through them and just be like, wow, rock stars, man.
Living
this
through
is going to be me. I'm going to be in this magazine.
That's right.
And then I was actually in those magazines.
There you go. Never, ever say that you can't do something. Tell your kids that as well. Never say you can't be on the cover of Guitar Magazine or Hit Parader or Sports Illustrated or whatever. Never say never. That's wicked.
Yeah.
I love it. Bill Bifford says, Biff Bifford, any interaction have you ever come across Sammy or David Lee Roth in your travels?
You know what? I never have. I've come really close, and somehow it's been avoided. I did a festival with David years ago before he was back in Van Halen, and I was on the bill, he was on the bill, and I was really excited that he was on the bill, and I actually stayed another day just to be able to meet him.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm walking through the hotel lobby, and I hear the girl behind the desk say, David Lee Roth canceled.
No.
And I thought she meant he canceled the show. Because, of course, that's what I would think. I wouldn't think that he canceled his hotel reservation, which is all he did.
Oh,
so I didn't go, and he played.
Oh, no.
You know, this was like before cell phones and the internet, and you could know everything right now.
Sure.
It was just before that. Right?
Okay.
So, yeah, I missed it. So I missed me. I could have met him. You know, I had, I could go wherever I wanted. I had the VIP passes and everything. So I missed meeting him. And Sammy, I almost met one time. The first time I ever met Ed was years before I got the phone call. And I was backstage at a show here in Nashville. And I was with a friend of his, and I was taken backstage, and I'm walking backstage with him, going back to Ed's dressing room, and I looked to the left in a room, and there's Sam.
Oh, that's
and he
cool.
just kind of looked at me, and I looked at him, and I just kept on walking.
A little bit of a deja vu, a little bit.
Well, if I was the kind, I'm just not like a pushy guy.
Yeah.
It's just not my nature at all. So yeah, I just waved and kept, I should have stopped and gone in, and I was 10 feet away from him, and he was by himself.
Can't change time.
I could have just said, hi, I'm Mitch. I'm a huge fan.
Have a great
You're
show.
Amazing. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Yeah. But he wouldn't have remembered that anyway.
That's cool, though. No, that's cool. And there again, too, it shows some class, because I can't say I or the next guy wouldn't bust in and say, Mr. Van Halen, I'll have to have your autograph, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So there you go.
Yeah.
I love
that.
it.
Well, Eddie was super hospitable, and Eddie's really, he's just a nice guy. So
I remember meeting him several times, and this is back on the Gary Sharon tour, which would be just shortly after your time. And Scotty Ross, our tour manager at the time, he'd say, hold your hand out, let Eddie reach your hand, and let Eddie shake your hand, so don't be one of those guys who has to prove yourself. And I always like to give a firm handshake. That's a sign of business for me. And put your hand out and let Eddie do the shaking. You know what I mean? So, don't hurt Eddie's hand. Carlo Santin says, what a surreal experience for you, Mitch. FNAF Gamer says, hey, Eric, sorry I'm late watching the vids after a random guitar stream. Very nice. Don Shepard, hey, Eric and Mitch, great show. We're going to be wrapping up here in just moments, guys. Dan Wilhite says, I love VH, but they should have really gave Mitch a heads up about Dave Lee Roth being on the MTV Awards. And that's the thing. Sometimes the carts get put before the horse, and we all become victims sometimes. Unfortunately, you were, But the thing is, you have a positive experience from it.
Yeah, I could see him saying that. I could see somebody thinking that, and I thought it too. In that moment.
Of course you would, and I would too.
I was upset.
Yep.
I was pissed.
Yep.
Straight up, I was pissed.
Yep.
I was.
Yep.
But I'm not anymore.
I know.
They're Van Halen. They've got decisions to make. It's not easy being Eddie Van Halen.
That's right.
I get that as an older man. It's like, life is not easy.
I know.
And he had people all around him, people, saying this, how you should be doing this, And he's just trying to do his best.
Yep.
Always.
And I'll be honest too.
He's trying to do what's right for the band, and so that wasn't ideal for me.
No.
It's not about me.
No, that's right. It's just
about Van Halen.
And Noel Monk's book too. The same thing when Noel got let go. No, see, you took the choice and you exited. That's kind of cool. And Noel Monk's choice, he didn't have that luxury. He was let go. And being in that room where David Lee Roth, basically he can't say anything. Eddie's almost crying on the floor. Alex is one calling the shots. And then Noel Monk's like handed the door at his own apartment, basically. And you feel really sorry. But looking back, if you look at the legacy, there is some sad and some turmoil, but things happen for a reason. And some people, in your case, have become a really good person out of it and found positive in it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't lament.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a woulda, shoulda, coulda kind of guy.
That's right. Yep.
It's not that dude.
That's right.
So
that's right.
People are like, "Oh, dude."
I know.
And I'm like, "No, really, it's okay."
Find the positive in everything, and that's a good thing to go by in life for sure. There's enough negative.
Like this guitar.
Exactly. That's right. That is a badass guitar. Badass guitar.
Back to something that's really important.
That's right. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody that's in the remaining part of the chat for sure, and I'm going to let you go. So James Poulin, Spanky McAllister says, hi, Eric and Mitch. Coffee Drinker 71 says, great show. Bane Rocks, my little guy, says, I still call you daddy. Thank you, buddy. Love you. Craig Reynolds says, yeah, my daughter just turned 18. I definitely relate to wishing I had more time with her, for sure. The age between 8 to 13 are priceless, and my guy's at 11, so I agree with that for sure. And Bane Rock says it would be a dream to meet Eddie someday. And when we say never at Bane Rocks, you're going to meet Eddie someday. James Poulin says, you know it. FNF Gamer says, have you ever built a guitar? You built a guitar, and you just mentioned that you built a lot of guitars until you come across Landon, and they said basically, we don't want you to do that anymore. We got a guitar for you.
Yeah. His goal was for me to throw my other guitars away, which didn't happen, but almost may as well have. I don't want to build guitars anymore because I can't build them this good. So I'll just let them do that now.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. And like I said to you earlier too, I'm not sure if I said it off the air or during the air, or maybe both. It does, sometimes when we have people can do some things for us, in a case, build a guitar like that, that's one less thing that you can actually dedicate it to business or marketing or writing or any of the above or a combination of the above. So it's nice to have some things like that freeing you up.
Yeah, free up to produce acts, which is mainly what I'm doing now.
That's right. And I'm very happy to see that. And down below in the description, not that you can see this right now, but I've got a link to your website where pretty much is like the hub for everything that you do. So I encourage people to go check that out. Follow Mitch on Facebook, on Instagram, all those good places, because I do know as a personal testament that you do really interact with your fans, very supportive with them, and I know they'll appreciate getting to know a little bit more about you and see what you're doing on a regular basis. And I just want to say thank you huge for coming on tonight. And I want to get you out of here as soon as possible. Not to rush our fans out of the show, but you have an engagement. I want you to go have fun with that. Thank you so much for sharing your Van-Halen knowledge, your years of experience in the business, your mentorship for some of these younger musicians up and coming. And anything you want to say before I let you fly?
Well, first of all, you're great at this. Really great.
Thank you.
And if you want me to come back, I'll come back.
Let me see. Yeah, okay. I'll have you back. I think I'll have you back.
Not to push myself on you, but no, I would come back again, and we can get a little deeper into it if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do maybe in the spring of 2018. Want to do that?
I'm down. Yeah, let's do it again. And I just want to thank everybody. Thank the fans. You're awesome. Write to me, send me messages. Let's chat.
That sounds great. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, guys and girls over in the chat for joining us tonight. Big thumbs up for Mitch, not for me. Big thumbs up for Mitch for taking his time out this evening. And all the best to you, Mitch. And I hope you have, as you wind down the rest of 2017, I hope you and the family have a great holiday season and an advanced Happy New Year to, it feels weird saying this already, but it's November and the snow's getting here tomorrow apparently in Canada. So have a great holiday season. Spoil that beautiful daughter like crazy. And I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. Everyone, we will see you very soon. Be back on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And a big thumbs up for Mitch Malloy. It's the right time, everybody. Cheers.
Hey, my name is Eric, and I'm playing the Frankenstrat guitar.
Video production services provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs.